What do you do when you've created one of the greatest, most iconic, and beloved musicals of all time? Do you phone in the rest of your career while raking in piles of money? Or continue creating uplifting, joyous pop art? Let's find out what path Lin-Manuel Miranda took in my review of In the Heights. In the Heights was Lin-Manuel Miranda's precursor to Hamilton, originally written his sophomore year of college in 1999. It hit Broadway in 2008 and ran through 2011, winning the Tony for Best Musical, Best Score, Best Choreography, and having a long national and international tour. The film adaptation has been in the works since 2008, but it wasn't until Hamilton that Miranda got the juice to get it off the ground. In 2016, it went to the Weinstein Company. But after all the shit hit the fan there, they were able to take the project elsewhere, and Warner Brothers acquired it. Lin-Manuel played the lead role on Broadway, but cedes it in the film version because he's aged out of it, and also because he's a coward. See, the upcoming Dear Evan Hansen film casts 27-year-old Ben Platt as a high schooler because they felt like no one else could give that performance. I've seen his performance on Broadway. It is incredible and intense, and I don't know how he did it every single night. I know people are upset about it. They're kind of making fun of the fact. But I gotta tell you, I'm all for it because I welcome chaos. In fact, I want to Benjamin Button the entire system. You're gonna de-age the old people? That's fine, go for it. But you know that baby from American Sniper? He's now gonna be played by Ed Asner. The cast of Irishmen, they can be de-aged for when they're younger, but when they're old, we're going to age up some babies. Also, incredible side note, during my research, I made the stunning discovery that Benjamin Button, at this age, is a dead ringer for Guy Pearce and Mayor of Easttown. Just a couple of old young hotties. Anyway, Manuel sets aside his ego and opts out of the lead because he made Hamilton and he doesn't need to prove himself ever again. So he lets Anthony Ramos take over the lead role. Ramos was in Hamilton playing dual roles of John Lawrence and Hamilton's son, who was much younger. Did he Benjamin Button that role? What? The screenplay is written by playwright Chiara Allegria HU'S, who wrote the original book for In the Heights, and it's directed by John M. Chu, who helmed the highly entertaining Crazy Rich Asians. Before that, he did Gem and the Holograms. He also did a couple of Step Up movies that made good use of the numbers in their titles, Step Up to the Streets and Step Up 3D. He also has experience directing music with the Justin Bieber twofer of Never Say Never and Believe documentaries. So between those and the Step Up movies, In the Heights, right in his wheelhouse. Even though he's also dabbled in action-adventure occasionally with G.I. Joe Retaliation, which really seems like an outlier, and Now You See Me Too, which not only didn't use its sequel number to great effect, it also left the most obvious title on the table, Now You Don't. And now he brings his brightly colored, high-energy style to the Heights. And obviously we can't talk about In the Heights without first talking about Hamilton, which is an incredible piece of modern pop art, towering and dense and layered and risky and coming from a singular talent, Lin-Manuel Miranda. People laughed at him when he came up with this idea and he started telling them about it. The president laughed at him and then he was like, oh, well, here's just the greatest musical of all time. I don't know, do you want this? He's a musical genius, but he also likes Weird Al, which is like Batista being a massive block of muscle who also wears tiny glasses. It makes him human and relatable and makes me think like, yeah, you know what? I could do that too. I can't do that. I cannot write a rap. Yo. No. Hamilton has seen a bit of a reevaluation recently, but that's mostly because of the changing political climate. It is unabashedly hopeful in a world that grows more cynical, which can just as easily describe Miranda. He is always positive. It's kind of become the go-to joke people make about him. But like, why wouldn't he be? He's made his masterpiece, Inglourious Basterds style. Everything else is gravy. Of course he's happy. So now he returns to his first musical to bring it to mass audiences who didn't get to see it on Broadway. And how does it translate? Does lightning strike twice? Well, let's just agree right now. When you make the choice to watch a movie musical, you are accepting a certain inherent amount of cheesiness. It cannot be avoided, and it's always a harder sell than seeing a live musical. People will break out into song, the background actors are still playing to the back row even though they're in a movie. It's the contract we all sign. So just accept it gleefully and everything will be okay. The story deals mostly in broad strokes and general themes. It centers on Uznavi, who lives in Washington Heights in New York, but wants to go back to the Dominican Republic to restore his father's bar, which was destroyed in a hurricane. Washington Heights, according to the movie, is a place where everyone in the neighborhood knows each other, and they're all friends. And I only know like 4 people on my block. But maybe that's my problem and my fault. I don't know. I gotta maybe be singing down the street or something. Uznavi is sweet on Vanessa, a hairdresser who wants to be a fashion designer. His friend Benny is a dispatcher who's in love with his boss's daughter, who got out of the Heights to go to college at Stanford. And there's also a subplot about an undocumented kid getting a green card. The romances all hit minor speed bumps. The life goals meet some struggles. But this isn't a movie about too much heavy drama. In fact, there isn't a single arc with an antagonist other than the external forces of life. Unfortunately, a lot of the plot threads tie up through coincidence, which is a little contradictory to the main idea of this movie. But it's more about that feeling of optimism and hope and treating others with kindness and love, knowing it will come back tenfold, as well as never forgetting where you came from and realizing really what's most important in life. They are not throwing away their shot. Speaking of which, maybe we should talk about the music in this musical. If you've seen Hamilton, the musical style will be very familiar to you. At times, I'm surprised they didn't name this Hamiltoon. But then I remember it was written before Hamilton, so maybe Hamilton is Hamiltoon? Lin-Manuel has very distinct phrasing, rhyme schemes, and melodies, so it's impossible not to draw comparisons. But those who have listened to Hamilton as many times as I have, which is many, many times, will notice some songs are nearly identical in parts. So I guess he's technically stealing from himself, but when you're that talented, who can blame you? There are a couple standout songs, my favorite being 96,000, which is a showstopper, and Blackout, which the movie has been building to in the first hour. I also really like When the Sun Goes Down, but that also might be because that sequence uses the gimbal technology that you've seen in Lionel Richie's Dancing on the Ceiling or Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. I also love the use of diegetic sounds incorporated into the songs, something Baby Driver took great care to do as well. The cast all gets a moment to shine, from Ramos to Melissa Barrera as Vanessa, to Corey Hawkins as Benny, and Leslie Grace as Nina Rosario. These are all stars. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention SMITS. Jimmy Smits, everyone's favorite, turtleneck-wearing, lightly frustrated that the Republic has secretly built a clone army, Bail Organa, gets an opportunity to sing and dance and provide the hardworking, pull yourself up from your bootstraps heart of the movie. In the Heights is a 2-hour blast of escapism, directed with boundless energy and inventiveness. The songs slap, as the kids say, and it's nice to experience a huge, unapologetic explosion of color and happiness without being reminded that we couldn't leave our houses for a year. I've also been mired in horror movies for the past 5 weeks on this show, and look, I love horror, but it feels good to have a movie that occurs during the day and no heads are chewed off by zombie tigers. Although, shit. Okay, listen, nobody steal my idea for a hip-hop zombie musical. I am writing that. And bottom line, if you're interested in not feeling horrible for 2 hours, watch In the Heights. It's on HBO Max right now and in theaters.